Hello everybody, welcome and thank you so much for joining me on this video. For today's video, I'm going to recap my last 365 days on YouTube. Crazy. Thank you guys so much for the support. I'm going to share all my earnings, all my stats, all my lessons learned, as well as my plan for the next 365 days. Since that time, I've recorded 168 videos and shorts, about 8 shorts and the rest are videos. I've hosted 86 live streams for a total of 254 pieces of content. During that time, my videos have collected over 3 million views. That is a completely insane number. Thank you all so much for the support. Seriously, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you. Those views correlate to roughly 665,000 hours watched. My average view duration for live streams and videos is roughly 13 minutes. And the total revenue I've made on YouTube through YouTube ads and other things on YouTube is $18,592 thus far. And as of the recording of this video, I have a little bit over 29,000 subscribers. For my earnings, this is how it breaks down in YouTube. About $11,600 is straight from ad revenue. About $5,000 is my share from YouTube Premium subscribers, and the rest, which is about $1,900, comes from super chats, super thanks, and people subscribing to the channel through YouTube itself. And for those that really like to geek out on YouTube metrics, my RPM, which is how much I make per 1,000 views, is roughly $6.93, and my CPM, which is how much advertisers pay per 1,000 ads they show on my videos, is roughly $12.66. And of course, when I started my YouTube channel, this wasn't meant as an income stream. It was meant for me to come out and share my thoughts, but over time, it seemed like I could bring a lot of value to the discussion, and through me monetizing the channel and continuing to build content, that's the sort of revenue I'm generating now. But that's not the only thing that I'm monetizing on my channel. I also have YouTube and merch, and I've done integrations in the past. So let's go ahead and review those as well. I started my Patreon late last year, and thus far I've made about $2,275 from Patreon contributors. For those that support me through Patreon and YouTube, thank you so much for your support. You have no idea how much your support means to me. And for those of you that want to join us through Patreon or YouTube, we have a private Discord as well as a discount code for merch. Not a bad deal. And I've also done one integration on my channel with Masterworks. And an integration is basically when a company reaches out to you to promote their products or services on your channel. For that one integration, I got paid $1,500. I've debated doing more of these over time, but I think for me, I'm only going to partner moving forward with companies that I truly, truly believe in. And if I'm going to monetize the channel, I want it to be done the right way. I want to make sure that I'm selling you things or promoting things that really, really make a difference in my life. And that's primarily why it's such a small part of my budget thus far. And the last thing that I have for monetization is merch, which this is one of the shirts that I'm wearing that you can buy on the merch store, farzatmesbahi.com/merch. Description, I'll put it down here as well. But I'm also making a little bit of profit from that. I started this merch store on October 21st on my website, and thus far it's made me about $345 in profit. If we annualize that for the rest of the year, that's roughly $5,000 in profit per year. So if we total all these numbers up for the last 365 days, I've earned roughly $22,700, which is about $62 per day. On average, I do about 4 hours per day on YouTube, which is roughly $15.50 per hour, or roughly $90 per piece of content. Now that we have the stats and the earnings out of the way, let me go through what I've learned thus far on this journey in hopes that it helps other YouTube creators. My first biggest lesson is to start and keep going. For those that follow the channel, you've probably noticed that I experiment a lot. I'm constantly changing things. I'm changing lighting. I'm changing camera settings. I'm changing my background. I'm changing my style of how I do things. But the key thing here is that I keep going. Even when something that I've created is not good or I'm not happy with, I continue moving forward with the knowledge that every time I create something I'm not happy with, that I'm going to learn from it and implement those learnings in the next video. It's impossible to improve unless you've made something you're not happy with. And that's the mantra I take here, is that if I'm not happy with something, I learn from it and I keep going. The second one is around equipment. YouTube is obviously a visual and an audio platform. And of course, the biggest thing I wanted to focus on is to ensure what you see looks good and what you hear looks good. So my biggest investments are in lighting, my camera, and my microphone. My microphone is a Shure SM7B, which is one of the top rated microphones for podcasting. This microphone costs about $400 and it's hooked up to a Scarlett sound interface, which then pushes my signal to the computer for pre and post processing. I use OBS to record all my content, and I use StreamYard to live stream my content. My camera is a Canon M50 Mark II with a 35mm lens at f1.4, and I have a primary light or a key light. I have have a secondary ring light on the back. I have a light somewhere in the back that's trying to give me a little bit of a glow. I have LED lights in the sides that's projecting some color in the background. And I'm in my theater room, so I'm using the projector to put some stuff in my background as well. And the idea here is to make it very easy for the viewer to be comfortable seeing what they're seeing, and to also ensure that what I'm saying is as clear and as high quality as possible, since the way I convey my information is through spoken word. And for those that are looking to create a YouTube channel, I would highly recommend investing in some sort of lighting or using natural lighting if you can in your home. Ensure that you use a camera that can at least record in 1080p with decent bokeh in the background and a high quality microphone. You don't have to necessarily spend $400 for a microphone. A $100 Blue Yeti should do the trick. The next thing that I've learned on this journey is to ensure you make it easy and repeatable. In the case of YouTube creation, it's very easy to get into your own head. It's very easy to have a lot of self-doubt. Oh my God, are people going to like this? What if I read a comment where people hate it? Happens on the daily. And so to overcome those days of fear and doubt and just self-hate, I try to make my process as easy as humanly possible so that I can go into my studio, turn everything on, and start. As an example, my studio is hooked up to a voice assistant, and all I have to say is turn on studio when I walk into my studio and everything lights up. And all I have to do is get in front of a computer and hit record. I also try my best to minimize edits when I sit down and do editing for my videos. For me, it was very fun at first, but it can be quite a time sink, and it's not something I enjoy too much. And so a lot of my videos are more freeform. I leave some of the mistakes in there with the hopes that if people find it, my vulnerability and my honesty kind of cuts across, and it's something that adds a different dimension to the video. But there are some videos where I have to edit, like this one. I want to make sure it's super concise and it's super good and easy for the audience to view. But generally, find things that you enjoy doing on a daily basis regularly, and find the things that you don't enjoy doing and the things that you don't like or that are sort of an obstacle for you to get started. Figure out how to automate it so that anytime you start a YouTube video, you can do it like that. I find that making stuff easy and repeatable, it's the easiest way to be consistent. Atomic Habits is a book I would highly recommend to figure out how to leverage this for your daily life. My next lesson, content is king. It's extremely easy to get lost in the metrics, the title, the thumbnail, the algorithm. There's so much to worry about as a content creator, the editing, the lighting, the camera, the voice, everything. But ultimately, what's most important is the content that you put together. That means what kind of value are you bringing to your viewer? And this entire concept revolves around being useful. If you can identify something that you can create for people to view or listen to that's going to be ultimately very useful, that will carry the video way farther than a thumbnail or a title. If somebody finds your content useful, they'll take it and they'll share it with somebody else. And of course, the title and thumbnail is going to help you stand out versus other videos as people search for stuff, but ultimately, the stuff that's most sticky, the stuff that people really want to view, is when they find something to be useful. But it's also very important to talk about the algorithm. This is one of those black boxes that almost nobody understands, I feel like, on YouTube. But the biggest thing I think that I figured out about the YouTube algorithm is that it doesn't take your content and just push it out to people. It tries to identify what people are looking for on that day and then pairing it with the content that's on YouTube. And so what could end up happening is for the next 2 weeks, I could be creating a video about Twitter or I don't know, the Tesla Model S or robots or something. But if people are going to be centered around the FTX scandal or SBF or whoever else, I'm going to get a lot less views because that's not what people are interested in. And so as a creator, you have to make a decision. Are you going to make content that's catered to what people are paying attention to on that day? Or are you going to build a library based on things that you're passionate about or want to talk about? And then if the population's, say, attention span starts shifting towards what you're creating, then your content should come up, and it should come up in droves. This is the biggest thing I've learned about YouTube, and it's a crazy balance you have to strike, because if you want to grow, you have to somehow cater to what the people are viewing, but you also have to ensure that you're keeping true to yourself. This is something that I struggle with literally on a daily basis, one of the hardest things about YouTube, and I would love to hear your feedback and your comment about how I'm doing in this respect and how I could do better. Next is one of the hardest things about YouTube. It's thumbnails and titles. Never in a million years did I envision myself getting in front of a freaking computer, in front of a graphic design software, and building thumbnails for a YouTube channel. But it's incredibly important. It's such an important part of the game. This is what gets shown to the viewer when they first search your content. And ensuring you create a thumbnail that's very easy to see, that is catchy, and that it stands out from the rest of the crowd is very important. But the other thing to also keep in mind is that you're dealing with human beings, and human beings are emotional, and they see things on a picture like, oh my God, let me click on it. Why do you think you see this thing? It's freaking everywhere. It's everywhere on YouTube because it works. And that's one of my biggest challenges. I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I imbue that emotional side of a human into my thumbnail, but also ensuring that I'm conveying what I'm trying to convey. I'll tell you, it's one of the hardest things. And I'm trying my best to keep it balanced between being, too clickbaity and ensuring that I'm being respectful of my audience. But at the same time, that's how humans work. So I'm still experimenting with this. There's so much content out there on YouTube that teaches people how to create thumbnails and all this other stuff, but I'm still experimenting. I'm no expert, and it's something that I'm continuing to learn. And then same exact thing with titles. Titles are the same thing, but in written format. What I've learned is that the shorter the title, the better, the more direct and to the point, the better, but it should also add some suspense. The viewer should be like, oh my God, I should click on this thing, right? But again, you have to build that balance. You don't want to be too clickbaity and disrespect your audience. You have to be sort of in that middle zone of like, oh my God, I'm so interested and I didn't feel like I'm cheated by clicking on this and it's something completely different, right? So hard. Hopefully I'll learn more about this in the next year, but yeah. One of the toughest things about YouTube by far. A big resource for me has been Nate Black from Channel Makers. He's a great channel for YouTube creators, and I highly recommend you check him out. Next lesson is around growing a community. Fuck, this video is long. Hey, okay, keep going. We got this. Come on, you got this shit. This one is probably my favorite part of the YouTube process, to be completely honest. It's engaging with all my followers. It's engaging with my community that I'm building. And I find that doing live streams is by far the best way to grow a community on YouTube. One of the things that I found to be very, very valuable in this respect is doing community forums or live streams with my Patreon and YouTube supporters. We get on a live stream together at 11 a.m. and we talk about whatever we want to talk about. There's not a lot of people that want to nerd out the way we want to nerd out. And so my thought process is to provide some sort of platform for my community to come on and just talk with the audience, and the audience can also talk with us through the comments, as well as going into the comments, replying to people's comments, loving them, liking them. This is also a very important part of building a community. Now, of course, the dangerous thing here is you're going to read comments. Sometimes you're going to be like, damn, that sucked. There's haters everywhere, right? And the bigger you get, the more haters you're going to get. And so that's part of the psychology of being a YouTube creator. It comes with the territory, but it's an important part of growing the community. Engaging your community is the best way to grow it. And I found that live streams plus reading the comments and engaging with the comments on live streams is the best way to do that. And the last lesson I learned is around honesty and vulnerability. And I'm a huge believer in this. I find that my videos do best if I'm not trying to be somebody else, if I'm not trying to be this guy in front of a camera, I don't know, that's trying to be like a newscaster or something. I try my absolute best to be me. I try my absolute best to be vulnerable in my mistakes. I leave them in sometimes. If I'm messing something up, I might just leave it there. Just like my dog right there, perfect timing. But I think that's really important for connecting with your audience and for your audience to trust you. And so my advice would be, don't be afraid to be honest. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. These are very human emotions. And generally, trust is built best when you can feel the honesty and the vulnerability from the other person you're talking with or watching or whatever it may be. And I found that this very much also applies to YouTube. Now let's finish up the video by talking about my plans for the next 365 days. Let's start with content. What I've really noticed about YouTube is that if you want to be somebody that's going to help as many people as humanly possible, you have to create content that's very easy to digest and also easy to view. For example, my content is generally pretty long. My videos are somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes, and then my live stream, which is a lot of my content lately, is an hour plus. And so of course I can't expect everybody to have that much time to sit down and view my content. And so one of the things I'm going to try to focus on for the next year is to figure out how to make more digestible content, say in the 8 to 15 minute range, so that more people have a chance to view what I have to say, and hopefully it helps more people instead of a few. Now, of course, this will probably lead to some sort of growth. This probably means that I'm going to have more people viewing my channel and viewing my content. So I also have to be cognizant of that as well, because one of the things I don't want to do is to lose touch with my community and to lose touch with some of the things that I do well, which I believe is things like hosting interviews, hosting live streams, things like that. So the balance is going to be very important, but I really do think I can make an improvement in digestible short form content. And so as a regular viewer of this channel, expect that to be the case for the next year. Next is community. Of course, this has to be a huge focus for me. The main reason why I'm even a thing on YouTube is because of you. Thank you so much. So I'm going to continue thinking ways on how to engage a community. Now that that Elon Musk owns Twitter. Twitter's probably going to become this giant social media player. So I wonder what kind of things we can do on there and hook it up to, say, YouTube in some way and have those two things living in tandem. I'm really brainstorming a lot of ideas, but if you have any thoughts around community building and what I can do better, I would love to hear it in the comments. I found that the community forum is a really cool thing that I have with my channel that's kind of unique. And so I'm going to continue experimenting with that format. But if you have any ideas, I would love to hear them. And the last one is growth. This is one of the things I've been thinking about quite a bit in the last few months. I've been trying my best to make this as sustainable and as repeatable as possible in the last year. I think I've done pretty good, honestly. I've made 250 some odd pieces of content, 600,000 plus hours viewed. 3 million views. These are like ridiculous numbers, crazy numbers. So I'm very, very happy with those results and ensuring that I'm still here. And I think I've made some improvements, especially gathering feedback and all those things. But I think the growth aspect of it is going to be important into the next year because that's really going to tell me if I'm improving or not. If more people are watching my videos, if more people are finding my work useful, and if I'm getting some sort of signal that, hey, you are being recognized by more people, then I would consider my second year a success. However, I can't just expect growth for growth's sake. I have to ensure that I bring value to the viewer. And of course, the key question here becomes how much do I want to cater to the algorithm and how much do I want to cater to my passion? What I'll tell you is the Patreon support, the YouTube support, the merch store support, those things give me a signal that, hey, what you're creating right now is super valuable. And so we're going to continue supporting you that way. So then the algorithm doesn't have to be catered to as much. If I don't see a lot of growth in that respect, that probably means that I have to change my strategy. I have to figure out different ways to bring value to people. And so that may be catering to the algorithm a little bit more, bringing content that people want to watch. However, I'm not passionate about everything. I'm not passionate about every single thing that happens every single day, especially around the world of tech. And so my biggest focus is going to be how to strike that balance, but still grow into the future to really bring this platform to as many people as humanly possible. One of the biggest things that I'm very proud of on this channel is diversity of thought. Even in our own little bubble, it's about bringing ideas from a wide range of spectrums and throwing those out there and then discussing them in an open forum. And of course, I'll sit down and I'll share my thoughts, but the one thing I always say in every video, what do you think? What do you think? And the comment section I'm super proud of because there's so many ideas that are diverse, so many different ways that people are thinking about things. And that to me is what I'm most proud of. So in my head is how can I bring that to more people? What can I do to grow the channel in that manner, but also be as useful as humanly possible? And so if you have any ideas or suggestions, I would love to hear them in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you throw me a like, subscribe, support if you'd like. But I hope this video was useful. Thank you so much for joining me today. And here's to the next 365 days. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.